Hey guys, I'm doing no fap. Wish me luck. Good to hear you. Good to see you. Good to think about me. Good to think about you. And we're back. We're back with another rambling, another talk. My voice is getting shot, but it doesn't matter. And this time it's like 12 o'clock on a wonderful Thursday, about to be Friday soon. I'm recording this hella late. Anyways, good to see you guys. I hope you guys are all doing well today. Tonight, tomorrow, the next day, whenever you listen to this, if you are listening to this, it don't fucking matter. And today we're just kind of, gonna get the ball rolling, keep on talking, keep on persevering. So let's jump into this. So since last time, which was only what 2 days ago, 3 days ago, where we have talked about it wasn't much. Talked about a little bit of football, obviously hockey. The big news that was technically today was Austin Matthews is now the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I've already gave my opinion about that. I wasn't a big fan, but you know what? I did want to kind of clarify more that hey, not saying I don't think he deserves to be captain. I don't think I did kind of like I do believe a person could grow into captaincy, maybe giving that leadership something. And the press conference today was quite nice. Tree Living was there, of course, the general manager, Brad Tree Living. The former captain now new alternate, John Tavares, no shit Matthews, and a couple other guys. They were there to show some support and love to the Austin getting it. His kids were wearing John Tavares' kids were wearing Matthew jerseys. That's kind of a little bit about that's kind of cucking. I mean, personally, like I wouldn't allow that, but you know what? Maybe you know what? Got to show some love to your teammate. Hell yeah, hell yeah. He gets to see. They did a little interview or a little press conference talking about other things. I did not know actually he's the first U.S. born captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there's only been less than 30 captains of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is very interesting because since they've been around for 100 and nearly 110 years now, which is kind of fucked to think about, since I remember celebrating the 100th anniversary of the team. But yeah, he's the first American captain in a hundred plus team year existence. That's cool. And yeah, he said the right things. I mean, he's not gonna. I mean, obviously, you're not gonna hear anything stupid. I mean, you did hear someone. I forget which reporter it was, but a lot of people were blowing up proportion on social media because he asked if would you say no? Or like he's like, well, John Tavares, he called Drew up because he was through the phone apparently, and and he's like, did you ever think about saying no to him? It's like, what the fuck asked that? The fucking Toronto media sucks dick. They're so bad at their jobs. Like, just imagine it's like you get promoted and everything, this and that, and someone like your coworker comes up to you, is like, hey, do you ever think about like saying like no? Like, why would you even think that? Like, what made you like ever want to like? Why? Now it's not the fucking time to say that. Let's enjoy the moment and be the captain. I mean, you can laugh all you want because they're gonna say. I mean, what do you expect? Like Tavares would say, like, "Oh, I don't care about being the captain. I just want to win in my hometown." It's like, well, haha, win shit, blah blah blah. People are now questioning is Tavares' career kind of a disappointment career, which I do think that's a decent argument for another time. I mean, other than I would say internationally, he hasn't really done anything. And the worst part is, I don't even feel like it was really his fault. I mean, you look at his career in Long Island for the Islanders, very kind of similar to a lot of superstar players, was kind of touted as the next thing, had to, rebuild the franchise. And you know what? Unlike the superstars of the time that was in that same boat, like Stamkos, Sidney Crosby, and a couple others, even Jonathan Tace you could throw in there, they didn't build around him for years, and they just spent years shitting the bed. And he was doing his thing. He became the captain. Honestly, I don't know which year, but he became the captain at some point, and was looking pretty great. And he was the player. He was well loved in Long Island and everything. I mean, he's generally a great dude. I mean, his foundation. He does a lot of awesome stuff. And you know what? The move that everyone gets mad about. I mean, what's wrong with going home? Nothing wrong going home, especially when you had the opportunity to. He was the biggest free agent in like NHL history because most acquisitions, should I say, mostly come through trades. Like when that John Tavares saga, if you cared about hockey back then, or even a little bit about sports in general, you would have known how big that was because everyone was talking about where he's going to go. San Jose offered him a shitload of money, and he said no to go back home. So it's not like money was the problem. I mean, did Toronto offer a lot? Yes, but I mean, then again, they weren't even the highest bidder. So that was a thing. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling all over the place. But John Tavares really just career is it's a very sad disappointment because a lot of the things that went wrong in his career wasn't his fault. Like he never had a bad season in the Islanders. The only really problem was him not really being the most. I mentioned this previous about him not being like the most, opt or like I would say the most outgoing guy, especially to the media. He played it too safe sometimes, and it kind of backfired. I mean, a lot of Islanders fans was very angry that they didn't trade him at the deadline because he said he was going to stay with them and then didn't. But let's be honest, there's a lot of players you could quote saying that because in hockey, especially around that time, they got media trained this shit to say fucking nothing. Players, if you look at players around that time, they never say anything special. I mean, I love Sidney Crosby, but like, you ever listen to him speak? I mean, other than when he was a really young guy and thrown to the wolves, he never really said anything fancy. I mean, everyone talks about the time where he talked about how much he hated Claude Giroux. That was kind of the worst thing he ever really said. Was, oh, I don't like Claude Giroux because the Pens and Flyers hated each other back then, and the Flyers kind of had their number for a while. And Crosby was kind of, this was like just entering the era of his his concussion issues and almost jobbed his career, which thank God. And then when he actually had those concussions, John Tavares was the guy. In fact, if you remember, if you were in the hockey at that time, one of the most like iconic games of the 2010s is when Crosby came back from his concussion and he played against John Tavares, and it was actually bought by CBC. It was a Rangers, excuse me, an Islanders Penguins game, and it's a two American team, and CBC bought it because the two top players was the one everyone talked about, John Tavares, and Sidney Crosby was coming back from injury. And of course, Crosby had that sick backhand goal that he just roofs it. You all know it. If you don't even know hockey, you probably even seen the clip. It's a pretty iconic clip of the 2010s because you know how important Sidney Crosby is the hockey. So yeah, Tavares' career is really sad to look at. It's honestly really depressing because a lot of his faults or a lot of the things he never really he did was not even for him. I mean, for God's sakes, the gold medal he won in 2014, he didn't play. He got hurt. I think he got hurt against Latvia too. I remember watching that game when I was sick in grade 4. Remember, like they barely beat Latvia, and everyone's like, "Man, this team sucks," and they went to go ahead and just steamrolled the USA. And of course, they beat Sweden 4-1 to win gold. I think it was 4-1. They beat Sweden to win gold. I remember waking up hella early for that. Those Team Canada jerseys were weird as fuck, but I kind of fuck with them. But yeah, he has a really sad career. And I mean, look at the his two most iconic things are like the two things that are like it just shows how much like that like as much one guy can change everything. It can change a narrative. It can change momentum. One guy can, but it doesn't continue it. It can change how people think of something, like Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks. We'll see how he goes. He's kind of in that realm of I'm not saying this will happen, but it could happen where the team that has this momentum now, they get this crazy wicked young guy who's fantastic. Now it's time to build a team around him. Like he's proven to them that he's very good in his rookie year. It's time to build a team around him, and let's see if those signings can pan out because it has happened. John Tavares is the prime example. He was kind of had to do his thing. Was kind of I don't want to say thrown to the wolves, but definitely had to really earn his place. Earned it. Became the captain, and throughout all this time on Long Island, he did nothing. And then he goes to Toronto, and now it's like okay, well all those issues of him, oh, he doesn't have a team around him, doesn't have good players around him. I mean, the guy was with like Kyle Poza and like Matt Molson for a bit. If you don't know those names, that should give you an answer. All respect to those Islander guys. Franz Nielsen had like a crazy year too, but like those Islander teams suck. They were bad. They weren't good. And of course, the best thing that come out of the John Tavares era in Long Island between 2000, I think 2010 to 2018 was the series win against the Panthers, who until recently didn't make the playoffs again, and then came back, and then all of a sudden had kind of came back in the COVID year and the bubble year, and then since then had just been an absolute dynamite team. But that's not the same team at all. I mean, Luongo was the goalie for God's sakes, but we all know, of course, Tavares scored the tying goal and the winning goal for the Islanders. I think that's a very, John Tavares, and this series is over. The 23 years, drought, and of course, it goes to Toronto, becomes the captain year 2 because like I mentioned before, Mr. Matthews, who's now the captain, didn't tell the team that he dropped his pants in front of a security guard. That's what it was, a security guard, by the way. I learned that. I remember it now, and I was refreshed because people were talking about it because there was obviously leaks before. Fun fact, actually, here's a really fun fact. Winners, I think it was Winners. It was some retail company or store in Canada. They sometimes sell like jerseys, and they had Matthews captain jerseys that they were selling on the cheap that were Adidas Austin Matthews captain jerseys because since he was supposed to be the captain, everyone wanted to jump the gun, and then of course he didn't become the captain because the plan was him to become captain, and then Matthews didn't become the captain. He, of course, the whole thing dropped his pants, blah blah blah, and they want to name a captain, so they gave it to Tavares, the former captain, the hometown guy, blah blah blah, and yeah, so he was named on captain out of pure kind of panic mode because the guy they want to name captain to couldn't because he was in hot waters already, and they didn't do a thing. Kept making the playoffs in the first round. Of course, the second year of him being the captain of the Leafs, it was the 2021 season. The guy almost got knocked out hard in front of the ice. It takes a bump off of Corey Perry, or was it? I think it was Corey Perry that needs him. It's Corey Perry was involved, of course, because it is Corey Perry. But of course, the whole accident of him getting absolutely drilled in the face after taking a bump from somebody in the playoffs against Montreal. He goes down. They don't win a series. 2022 played really well in 2022, by the way, in that playoff series. Still didn't win. And of course, in 2023, he scores the overtime winner. So there you go. The captain that people talk about, he has his own moments. It's just that the team around him couldn't get it done. I always thought Tavares was a good playoff performer. I still believe that to this day because since the goals he scored were very meaningful, the assists he made up are meaningful. I still think I forget what game it was, but when he like kind of took a solo adventure with the puck behind the net, and he drawed the Tampa Bay Lightning a lot of pressure to give it to. This was in 2022, by the way, to give it to Morgan Rielly, tucks it home. That was a big goal. I still think of that. That's a John Tavares goal. Like that was all Tavares, and of course him winning the fucking series against the Lightning. So maybe it's just a Lightning thing. I don't know, but I felt really bad for the guy, man. I felt really bad for Tavares. I just feel like he's had the short end of the stick in his whole career. And of course, Islander fans are gonna love it, but let's be honest, it's the Islanders' fault too. They didn't do shit for him for almost 10 years. It was almost the 10-year mark of him being an Islander, and they didn't do shit. They have one playoff win. They have one playoff series win. And now it's been the same amount of time in Toronto, and they've one playoff series win, who was both won by John Tavares. So to me, it never was his fault. But they went to him and said, hey, we don't want you as our captain anymore. We want to give it to Austin. And then their excuse was, I did see, at least Tree Living was trying to spin it, and I think it was also Brendan Shanahan too, was that, well, a lot of, now since he's been in the league for a while, people who are now entering the league grew up, watching Matthews, and him being that, he could be that, like, that role model player that, oh, I grew up, because you see these players, oh, I watch Sidney Crosby, and they get excited to see Sidney Crosby. They want that, like, his impact, basically. And that makes sense, because, he played a big market in Toronto. He's the best player in Toronto. He's setting records that, he's probably end up as the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf of all time, which is really fucking scary to think about, but it's true. And it just, obviously a lot of guys, like I guess I grew up with Matthews. I was in like grade 7, so what was I, 12? I think I was 13. I think I was 12 or 13 when he kind of his first rookie year, and it's been 7 to 8 years since then. So like, yeah, guys grew up with Matthews, and I do understand that is definitely a good argument, but I don't know if I view him as my captain, especially since he almost got the captain in his like 4 years ago and then didn't. But hey, it's all cool now. I hope he really takes it. He seems excited. I do. He does seem excited, which is good. He did weirdly said he wants to be the goal. He said, quote unquote, the goal is to be a Maple Leaf for life, which I find funny because his 2 contracts have been only for 4 and 5 years. That doesn't seem a for lifer, but we'll see. I think that's a little bit more of a money deal. But you know what? Hey, At least he signed. We'll worry about it in 5 years. And right now is, can we please make it to the conference finals? It's been since 2002 since the team has made it to the conference finals. I said we, I mean they, because I am not part of the team. I would love to, but I'm not part of the team. So that's the Matthews debacle or situation. Today he was named captain. The C in the Fanatics jersey. Um, that happened or since the time has gone by. I saw today in this, he did a CCM ad and he's wearing the captain jersey. And I forgot they're wearing the new Fanatics jersey because Adidas are no longer the sponsor. And I forgot how fucking similar the Adidas jersey are to the Fanatics one. And two, it it scares me that I just don't see like the Adidas logo. Just nothing. It's like it almost feels like a video game where they couldn't get the rights for something, so they just leave it blank, or they just like hope you ignore it. It looks really weird to me because it looks exactly like the Adidas jersey, but with no fancy. There's no logo on it. There's nothing. Really weird, but I hope it goes well. I hope it goes well for the sake of me being a fan of the team, and also goes well for Austin because since come on, man. It's kind of like you hear this argument in other sports, especially like in baseball, when New York, when like the best team or the most popular team in the world in the big hockey or the big sporting cities in Toronto they're the hockey mecca, but in baseball and basketball it's New York. Whenever they do good, everyone talks about it. It's always good for the sport. So if Toronto does well, it's always good for the sport. Everyone talks about it. I mean, hell, a Canadian team like the Edmonton Oilers, which we will get into, they had their playoff run and like their Stanley Cup Finals run, and that was good for the sport. I mean, the ratings were high. Everyone was interested about it. Everyone was talking about it. Doesn't matter if you were a fan of not. As someone who lives in Canada and who lives in Ontario, I don't live in Alberta. They were talking. Everyone was talking about it. People were rooting for them. People weren't. It was talking about it, and the NHL needs that. The NHL needs that exposure, and I think they're losing a foothold in the base market they want to be in, aka Canada, because I think they've been spending too much time pissing off the Canadian market and moving teams. But once again, that's another story to talk about. Here's a really good story though. Speaking of the Edmonton Oilers, there's an offer sheet. An offer sheet was signed. We haven't had an offer sheet since Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And I will get to an offer sheet and all that stuff. So an offer sheet is basically where someone who is a restricted free agent, so he's under team control, at the end of the season, there's a certain period before July 1st where you can sign players that are restricted. That's where you can re-sign players before anyone else can, because of course you have first priority, and that's usually where most restricted free agents get done. And then on July 1st, when it's free agency, if they're still not signed, or they have an arbitration court date, which I believe is settled, I think just before free agency. It might be after. I don't know the exact date. Damn, I got robbed. They can be signed by anyone. Now the problem is the NHL GMs they're very goody two shoes because they like to think it's a market. Excuse me. I apologize. It's a market. It's a business where everyone knows each other. Everyone talks to each other. Pretty much any GM role are been by former players or people who know people in the business. So they all talk. And they love to screw over guys that they don't like. So most of the time, you'll see these really talented players available, and they won't be able to be picked up. And it's like, well, what the hell, guys? Why not? Like, there's some great restricted free agents out there that haven't been signed yet, and they never get signed. And the other times they do, it's just out of spite, or because they have a beef with that GM, or just because why not? So an offer sheet is where an opposing team can sign a player that is a free agent, is a restricted free agent. And how that works is depending on the money they sent, how much money that is offered. By the way, both parties do need to accept the player and the team that is being that is offer sheeting. In this case, it is the St. Louis Blues. They have offer sheeted Philip Broberg to a 2-year 4.85, is it 4.85? 4.58, $1 million contract, and Dylan Holloway of 2 years at $2.29 million. They are both, fun fact, RFAs, and both are the Edmonton Oilers. So, how that works is basically they go to this player, we would like to sign you, and this is how much they offered. It depends on how much money each team, or it depends on how much they are signing them for. Once again, player and the team that is offered. So in this case, Holloway and Broberg had to accept these deals first, and then depending on the money, if the deal goes by, I forget the time period. I believe it's a week. I believe they have 7 days, the Edmonton Oilers, to match it. So St. Louis and St. Louis and the two players agreed to this deal. That is signed. It is sent to the league. This is happening. And if the Oilers don't match it in a certain amount of days, they are St. Louis Blues players. Now, the Oilers can match it. They can flat out just went, okay, that's cool, and then they tell the league, yeah, we'll match that deal, and then they're automatically signed because the player agreed to the deal of the exact same amount of money for the exact same amount of years. So they're automatically the team that they have the rights owned to. They are part of that team now of the contract they agreed to. That's how an offer sheet works. That was poorly explained, but I think you guys get the deal. So in this case, the Oilers now have a window to match the two contracts, and they got to clear up space. Now, let's say if they don't match it, what happens? So they don't match it. Well, they obviously become the players of the team that's being offer sheeted. So in this case, they'll be St. Louis Blues. But the Blues, they have to own. Oh my god, they have to own a certain amount of picks on the money they spent. And in this case, for both deals, you have to also own each pick. So they had to make a trade with the Penguins to acquire their second round pick for this year. Because if they acquire or the deal goes through, and they don't have that picks, the deal automatically gets voided because they don't own those second round picks. It's a compensation. That's what it is. You get a compensation of the draft picks of the team. And the draft picks depend on how much they sent. And it's depend on the current year that's coming up to, so this case 2025 and 2026. That's how it can. So once again, depends by the money. I do remember in the Mitch Marner saga deal where people thought he was going to get offered by Columbus. I do believe the money or the compensation Toronto would have got, it would have been insane. So it's kind of like a sign and trade. It's probably as close you can get to a sign and trade without being a sign and trade by the NHL. So that's what happened. That is interesting because we haven't had an offer sheet since 2021. The last time was when Carolina offered sheet Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who Habs fans fucking hate now, to a 1-year, $6.1 million deal. Now, you do notice these players do get overpaid a lot because since, they're trying to outbid the current team. Now there's a new bidder, and since they agreed to this deal, most players do agree to it because they are just getting more, vastly overpaid than what they're worth. In this case, Kotkaniemi. And Broberg and Holloway. Listen, they're good players, but I don't know. I wouldn't think Philip Broberg is a $5 million player. Holloway, ironically, I find Holloway's deal very realistic. I find that a very good deal. It just makes me wonder how much Edmonton was offering him. But yeah, now they're in that window, and now it's finally exciting because we never get offer sheets. Like I said, the offer sheet was 3 years ago, and it did work. And then Montreal took the compensation of, I forget what draft picks it was, and they traded for Christian Dvorak. And that went totally great, and they totally did not miss the playoffs and haven't made the playoffs since then, and Dvorak has been injury prone. Kotkaniemi has been kind of shit for Carolina, but at least he's still a Carolina Hurricane past the 1 year. So we'll see how this goes. An offer sheet is really exciting because we never get those, and it should happen a lot of the time because in Edmonton's case, rest in peace Cap Friendly, because I would gladly pull that up and check how much each team makes. I know there's other websites, but I don't know which one's the best one yet. I tried Puckpedia, but I don't like their user interface. I think it's pretty poor. But personally, I like offer sheets because it spices things up. It tells GMs to basically go fuck each other through very in crazy business ways, very kind of evil, devilish ways, and I really do. I find it fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun to see GMs fight each other, because since it gets weirdly personal sometimes, because since that GM will remember that and either A, will never trade with them, or B, try to actually just cuck them in every way. It's really awesome. And then social media teams go at each other all the time. It's kind of fun. I remember the Habs and the Carolina social media team went at each other. And the player will always be forever hated. That's fun. That's always fun to think about. Yay. How exciting. So here's the kind of the two-parter. Do I think, one, it will go through? Will they become Blues? And two, would Edmonton do anything out of these picks? Question: do I think it's gonna go through? I think Broberg's gonna go through. I don't think Dylan Holloway. Because like I mentioned before, it's a very good deal. Now I do believe Edmonton is over. Will be over the cap or is in a very tight cap space scenario that they will have to make a trade. But I do think the Oilers will have to make a trade no matter what because it's either they get a couple draft picks that they can sit back and improve their team on because I think they've one of the best offensive cores in the league right now. Their team looks stacked offensively. I think they have a nasty thing. And going back to the money thing, they got to sign Leon Draisaitl next year. He's the biggest free agent coming the next year, and Edmonton would like to sign him, and it ain't gonna be the same discount because he was making some pretty. His deal was really good, and ironically, he was signed by one of the worst GMs ever, Peter Chiarelli. But damn, did he make a good deal for him? And it was actually notoriously hated because they're like, "Why the fuck do we sign this guy? He doesn't do shit." Next year, he has like a 50-goal season. How funny is that? So yeah, an offer sheet, awesome, really fun, exciting. I think St. Louis will get Broberg, and I don't like. I don't mind Broberg. I think he got a shit hand in Edmonton, and ironically, he did score a very crucial playoff goal in the series against the Stars. And they do get Holloway. That's a pretty decent young player. I mean, for God's sakes, Ryan McLeod was traded, and Edmonton got Edmonton got such a good deal of it. Buffalo's so shit. They're fucking awful. They haven't made the playoffs since 2011, dude. Do you know how long ago that is now? That's so fucked. Enough of me shit talking the Sabres. The Oilers are kind of in a pickle here, and I think that'll be fun. We'll see how it goes through. I'll happily explain what we'll go through, but I'm trying to explain an offer sheet to you guys. Once again, I have no fucking insight. I'm just a fan. He's just looking at this stuff, and he's just trying to give my own opinion about it. I know how original. I know I'm such a super original guy, but hopefully my entertaining ass can work. Because since you know what, I just find it really funny that just GMs can just beef each other sometimes. I just really find it funny. I just want to know why those two. I do feel like there's better RFAs out there, but you know what? Fine, sure, bring the heat. I love it. Like we haven't had an offer sheet in 3 years. These fuckers are so boring. These GMs. They sit back and they fucking go golfing with these fucking idiots, and everything is sunshine and rainbows, and yet they'll let the biggest fucking idiots, these evil idiots in the world, like like the GM of the Oilers, Stan fucking Bowman, who was part of who was the GM of the whole Kyle Beach saga. If you don't know, Kyle Beach was sexually assaulted by the video coach of the Blackhawks, told the team about it, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're in the middle of a playoff run. Could you shut the fuck up?" And then just silent him, and then basically kind of derailed his career. And he came out with it, and that was a big story. And then right after the Team Canada team came out of the World Juniors. Good one, guys. Fucking rapist. Jesus. I hope those guys don't do anything. And yet they sign in Russia. How exciting. They sign in Russia. I love the KHL, man. I had a big KHL phase when first of all, rest in peace, Rodion Amirov. It was like kind of a 1-year anniversary of his passing not too long ago. And yeah, wow, that took a dark fucking turn. I'm sorry. But Rodion Amirov, I was watching the KHL a lot, and I do find Russian hockey very interesting. I really do. But goddamn, do they love signing sick fucks, man. They love to. They love it. Love to. Either absolutely like shithole NHL players that didn't make it big, or you just had a big name, aka Nail Yakupov. I mean, he is Russian, so that it is fine, but in most cases they sign a lot of bums. Or two, just flat out like evil human beings. They do that a lot. Jacob Vrana, he's the first one that, or not, sorry, Jacob Vrana. Oh my god, that is so bad. Not Jacob Vrana. He got a PTO with the Capitals again. Shout out Jacob Vrana. Jake Virtanen, that's what I wanted to say. I am so sorry. I named the wrong guy. That is so bad. Jake Virtanen, he's a piece of shit. He got a KHL deal. Because of course he did. But once again, that's another topic for another day. Actually, no, because I just remembered we have to talk about Milan Lucic. Milan Lucic is trying to make a return to the NHL. Milan Lucic was he's a well-known player for the Boston Bruins. Played for the Bruins. Was traded when the Bruins kind of had a shit time. Was to LA. Then gets signed to Edmonton, a big contract. Does horrible in LA or in Edmonton. Has one good year in Edmonton. Goes to Calgary. Was kind of mid, and then signs back to Boston. That was like kind of his heyday. And then last year he had to go because apparently he was for assault and battery against his wife. Last November, that's what happened. It all charges were dropped. He was not pleaded with anything. But yeah, he had to get away from the NHL. He did went to the Players Assistant Program, which is the program they meant for people who are NHL players who are in need, mental health wise, or any nothing fun to talk about stuff. Actually, a lot of players I swear have been going into it recently, so I hope everything's okay. He went in there last year after all that stuff, after all that incidents. He took a leave of absence from the Bruins when all that stuff happened. And then now he's trying to make a comeback. So that is interesting to see. I wonder who will sign him. My money's the Edmonton Oilers because they love signing, even though he was just signed there. They love signing criminals. Them and criminals, man, they love it. If you want to go for a deep rabbit hole, look at the criminals that signed for the Oilers. There's a fuck ton. These guys are greasy, man. They're greasy fucks. A lot of shady fucks on that organization. You people are fucking evil. And they got McDavid. McDavid's a chill ass dude. And I fuck with Leon, bro. Dude, Leon's like very fun to watch. I love Leon Draisaitl. I thought the Oilers team was pretty fun to watch, and I think that will be really fun to watch this year with their new acquisitions on forward core. But they've been pretty busy recently, and even though I am making fun of them right now, they should be fun to watch, man. That forward core is so entertaining. I think they got Jeff Skinner, man. He should have been a fucking Leaf. But whatever. So to wrap things up for a little bit, I do want to talk about. I'm not a big football guy, but I do want to talk about what's been going on in the football world because there's been very, very, very interesting stuff, especially with the team like the Minnesota Vikings. So, in the past 5 weeks, the Minnesota Vikings have dealt with this. These are all legit issues. Their rookie cornerback passed away. Their starting wide receiver gets a DUI. Their other starting quarterback tears his ACL on the first day of practice. The other cornerbacks get hurt on the second day. Their first-round quarterback tears his meniscus and he's out for the year. And their starting wide receiver is carted off the practice field today. Holy fucking shit. What is going on with that team? If you're a wide receiver or a cornerback, don't sign there apparently because you might just die. Literally. Holy fucking shit, man. That is so bad. I feel sorry for Viking fans. That is a brutal start to the season. They're going to be awful this year unless they pull a miracle run, which is possible. But god fucking damn, man. They literally lost, their rookie quarterback lost his life. That's so sad to see. And then the starting quarterback who they drafted for, they let Kirk Cousins walk in free agency to the Falcons. We'll get to the Falcons. They've been interesting, but they drafted J.J. McCarthy. I mean, I don't think he's the best option, but I mean, hell, for God's sakes, he was looking apparently pretty good in training camp and everything, and then goes out there and hurts and tears his meniscus. It's out for the fucking year. He's out for the year. That's so sad. And everyone's getting injured. If I'm Justin Jefferson, I'm on the suicide fucking hotline, bro. I'm so fucking done. I am so done. Because, someone check on my guy. He needs a wellness check. That whole team needs a wellness check. Everything has been going to shit, man. DUIs, deaths, injuries. We might have to see a disaster draft. We might legit see a disaster draft in the NFL if the fucking Vikings keep up this track record for the past 5 weeks. Holy shit. I'm not a big football guy. I'm trying to get into football more, but that's not my specialty. But I'd love to get into more and talk more. But fucking Christ, man, that sucks. Oh, it's so. Oh, it's so bad. It's. I'm on. Everyone that's a Vikings fan or works for the Vikings needs a wellness check ASAP because it might all go to shit. Damn. Other than that depressing story, I do want to get into kind of a positive story since the Atlanta Falcons, ever since that horrible Super Bowl 28-3. I'm so sorry. I can't say shit. I'm a Seahawks fan, so it was at the goal line. They've been actually really good. So they've been seeking for a pass rusher for a while. They tried to trade for Montez Sweat. That didn't work at the deadline. They tried to trade up at the draft to draft for some pass rushing and help. That didn't work. But today they acquired Matthew Judon, who's one of the best pass rushers when healthy. They acquired him for only a third-round pick. That's some tidy business, man. The Falcons look dangerous, man. They look like, listen, they're in a shit, weak division. I wish them nothing but the best, man. They're probably in the worst division of football. I wish them nothing but the best, especially because they've had such a tough fucking streak of luck. That generally sucks, man. But you know what? Matthew Judon won a fully healthy year in 2022. He had 15 and a half sacks, and a year prior he had 12 and a half sacks, man. And then the very few games he played in 2023, he had 4 sacks in 4 games. Dude is a beast, man, and they got him for just the third-round pick. Let's hope he stays healthy for the sake of the Falcons. I'm a Falcons sympathizer because I have a wonderful Falcons fan who could use a fucking bright spot in his life. And for being a Falcons fan, I'm hoping that's one of the bright spots in his life because the Falcons have, not do his thing. But that is some good shit, man. And then later they signed one of the best free safeties, or sorry, not free safeties, just one of the safeties in general. In free agency, they signed Justin Simmons to a 1-year, $8 million deal, 7.5 guaranteed. Is that a little too much? Probably. But hey, they got one of the strongest that's one of the strongest safety duos in the league, man. Dude, they look decent. I'm very high up on them because I like the acquisitions. I know the fucking Michael Penix / penis. If you don't know, the quarterback they drafted, his name is Michael Penix. You can see where I'm going with this. Michael Penis. I'm so funny, guys. I'm such a mature mature content creator. I promise. But you know what? They look good, and they are such a bad division that I wish them nothing but the best this year. And they look like to at least be a playoff team. And you know what? That's maybe all they need to fucking hear. They got themselves 2 quarterbacks. At least they don't have Desmond Ridder throwing a ball. That's all that matters. They don't have ISIS ball going on. They don't got ISIS ball. Desmond Ridder's not throwing balls like he's throwing planes at the Twin Towers, man. He's doing. They don't got that. They got Kirk Cousins, who's pretty much the blackest white guy in the NFL, and they got Michael Penix, who isn't bad. He's just old, for at least a draft prospect. Not even that bad of a pick. So I'm excited for them. I'm genuinely excited for them because their division's so shit. They can, at least they might top the division because how shit it is, and I'm happy for that. I'm happy for that because since I got a Falcons fan, I got a Falcons fan that's part of my heart, and I gotta love him to his bits. I love him. I love him. So any Falcons propaganda is tolerated on this channel. Very, very happy. Shout out the Falcons. So I just want to quickly wrap things up. I'm not trying to make this drag for too long. I'm almost near the 40-minute mark. So once again, it's good to see you guys. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you're listening to this or not. If you're not, then you won't know what the fuck I'm saying. Hopefully when things speed up a bit, I'll talk more. I'm also trying to get my bearings about this. I'm talking more in circles. I'm talking more words. This is once again all from the heart. I've been taking notes. That's been fun. But the goal here is to really just kind of talk and have fun here, man. I do love talking about sports, and I love to learn more sports to talk here, or just to talk with my friends and have a platform. Because I do feel like that somebody out there is willing to listen to my nonsense. If not, then well, I tried. But it's a little passion project. But I'm really excited to start. I'm really excited to do this, and I will try to continue this. It's probably be slow for a little bit because there's been really nothing in sports. I did have to really kind of scratch and claw. There's other shit I could talk about, but I just didn't think it would be interesting, or at least I didn't have the strongest knowledge. I mean, I stumbled my words over offer sheeting, but I'm trying to make this very interesting. I'm trying to make this interesting for people who like sports and people who don't. I would say is necessary like sports. I do know people who will at least give this a shot that might not like sports, but I'm trying. I'm here to I'm trying to be as creative and most entertaining and try to cater to what I like, but at the same time what people want to hear at the same time. So I'm gonna wrap it here. It's at the 40-minute mark. I wish you guys nothing but the best today, tomorrow, and the next day ever. Still on that no fap streak, doing my thing. And you know what? I'll catch you in the next one. Auf Wiedersehen.